Welcome to Be Well, Virginia. This is our town hall, our virtual town hall. I'm sitting in my new office because NVFP has moved. It doesn't have very much up on the walls yet, but at least just one little splash of color behind me. We will look forward to seeing you when it's appropriate for you to come in. We are seeing people in the office just at a trickle. So we are doing like one physical every day and seeing, I've seen maybe one or two people, maybe three people every day in the office, as opposed to like one or two people a week in the previous 2 months. So we're here. We still are doing almost all video medicine visits, and we still want to connect with you by video first. And I'll just remind you that if you do come into the office, we do require face covering all the time. Some people are upset when we ask them to take off their gloves and throw them out and wash their hands, and we will give you new gloves, but that is what we do require in the office so that we keep our germs minimized. And mostly things are kind of spaced out, so we're not doing things nearly as quickly as we have in the past. The physicals are a little bit different in their rhythm because we try not to keep you in the office, as some of my physicals might have gone on for 90 minutes or 120 minutes. And we're trying to do some of that on the phone with you ahead of time and on video ahead of time so that the actual face-to-face contact is a shorter amount of time. And we'll be all kind of masked up when you come in. I'm peacefully in my private office with my mask off. So I'm just want to have Josh, I'll tell you briefly about Josh and how we met. Josh D'Angelo is a physical therapist. Can wave there, Josh. He's got his headphones on. And he and Scott and another partner of theirs and I met a couple of years ago when they came into the office just to kind of tell us about their services, which a lot of people will do and stop by. And they just came at the perfect time because I had been aching to get this exercise program together. And I didn't know exactly who I was going to ask to put it together or who could run it for me. And, here come these healthy physical therapists hungry for work. And I had this idea. And so I asked them if they would put together an exercise class for us. And I'll tell you the backstory on that in just a minute after we get through the introductions. But these guys put together, they just went way above and beyond in terms of putting together the exercise class. So it began a 2-year relationship between all of us and a fantastic collaboration. I think what will come through loud and clear today when Josh just starts talking is his absolute passion for movement and his absolute belief that life is better when movement is better. And not only belief, but tons of experience about getting people to reclaim their movement. So Josh, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Part of what I love about working with you is your ability to kind of articulate your vision and what you really most love and are connected with. So I think I'll have you do that in your own voice. Oh, hold on, you're muted. I don't know, maybe I can only unmute some people. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Beauvais. Yeah, I muted myself and it looks like I can't unmute myself. But thank you for unmuting me and thank you so much for the kind introduction. First and foremost, it's been such a true pleasure working with you since that day. I think it was in June of 2018 when we walked in just hoping to speak with someone and be able to share our passion with them. And you responded so positively, so warmly, and so encouragingly. And the relationship has only gotten better since that first day. So thank you so much. And NVFP has been a tremendous partner to develop the exercise program with and to continue to add more value to it. So a bit about myself. I'm originally from Ann Arbor, Michigan, went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, moved down to Washington, D.C. for grad school at George Washington University, and have now been here, I can't believe I'm saying this, for 10 years. And it's amazing how fast time flies. I co-founded a company with Scott and with Fred and with another partner who's out on the West Coast called MovementX. And our mission at MovementX is to help people move their best so they can live their best, whatever that may mean for you. And so for some individuals that we work with, it's running a marathon at a personal record best. For others, it's simply getting down on the floor to be able to play with their grandkids and to be able to engage with them as they grow up. And we pride ourselves on, no matter where someone is on the spectrum of quality movement, we can help them attain their goals, get to their goals, and hopefully well beyond them. So I'll share some stories with you today about some inspirational individuals that we have worked with. And we hope to inspire you a little bit to get moving and to use your best movement to live your best life. I'll pause just for a moment. I would love to have both Scott and Merideth introduce themselves as well, because they've been so instrumental in the class development. So Dr. Beauvais, if you wouldn't mind unmuting Scott.
I'll unmute Scott. Yep. There you go, Scott.
You have the power, Dr. Beauvais. Yeah, my name is Dr. Scott McAfee. I am an orthopedic physical therapist, and it's such a pleasure to be here. And so I'm originally from Los Angeles. I've been living in Washington, D.C. for the past 2 years now. And I love being a physical therapist because of everything that Josh just mentioned. We're able to help people empower their lives with healthy movement. I work with a lot of runners, as Josh mentioned, and I also work with a lot of people plus 65 who are trying to prevent decline, improve their balance, and essentially just live a more active life and not have age be such a negative factor as we look forward. Whenever we think of aging well, we always think of a more brighter future and a future that is more empowering for you. So yeah, again, just so glad to be here. I'll pass the baton to Merideth.
Hold on, Meredith. I'm working to get you there. Unmute. I guess maybe I have to mute Josh. I don't know. Let me try. Let's see.
What does unmute?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you just had to hit it.
Yeah, like Josh said, if I mute myself, then you'll have to unmute us. So you do have all the power. So I just wanted to say hello first. My name is Merideth Black, and I am a registered nurse as well as a personal trainer. I got the opportunity to come on with MovementX back in November. And I honestly have been nothing but impressed. To echo Dr. Beauvais, the inspiration that comes from MovementX has just been phenomenal. I haven't been so inspired to want to work with and change people's lives. So it's been a really fantastic career change and journey for me. I'm born and raised in Virginia, and I've lived all over the place in Virginia, but always in Virginia. So through and through, a Virginia girl. I have always been very intrigued and interested in healthcare, fitness, and really over time through my career path realized how important it was to keep people in their healthiest and best selves. So staying on that wellness spectrum in their best lives and their best healthy selves. So you can do all the things that you intend to do and do it well. So I got the opportunity to do just that with MovementX. And as far as AgeProof Your Body, it's been a great opportunity for me to practice that. And my very first client with MovementX came from doing an AgeProof class. So that was a great opportunity as well. So I have got nothing but positive vibes and great things to say about both MovementX and AgeProof.
Well, thanks, Meredith.
Thank you.
So Josh, we're gonna start with my little backstory, and then we'll kind of move into your section.
Sounds great.
So, you know, an experience that really I just had again today was that we meet a person in their physical, and there's a certain type of physical fitness that they'd like to attain. A person I saw today was a person in her 80s who has multiple things that hurt, And she's doing some exercise twice a week, a little bit, but just not enough to really kind of really make some progress. And so she comes in and says, all these things hurt. And then we looked, and last year we had the same talk. And then it resonated with her because I'm kind of maybe bringing up the same things again and again. And I think this is a experience that I have both, I have it all the time where we have a talk, somebody has good intentions, and then, the good intentions just don't materialize for one reason or another. There's other things to do, and people don't always get to their goals. And this was a problem that I felt so powerless to change because after a decade, maybe 15 years of those conversations, I hadn't found the answer to changing the shape of those conversations. And so I was just looking for what to do about them. Fortunately, I had a little insider information. One of my patients works at the Supreme Court, and he was aware that the trainer who trains Justice Ginsburg had just produced a book. So as soon as this book was out about how to train an 85-year-old lady, I bought it and I went to the gym and I tried it. And it took me an hour and a half to get through her hour of exercise. And I thought, this is it. This is hard for me. It's like, there's a lot of exercise here. If she can do it, then, and it's hard for me, everybody can do it and it's worth doing. And that kind of simultaneously was right around the time that I was having my own kind of awakening to my own out of shapeness and lack of getting to my goals. And, for many reasons, like all of you, I didn't get to the gym for many years and had stopped riding my bike to work because other responsibilities took over. And suddenly 5 years had passed and I had not, done anything physical besides, stand on the soccer field on the sidelines. And so, that was kind of in the back of my mind, but not really, nothing was inspiring me to get out of my rut. And suddenly I went on a long car trip to a vacation with my family. And when I got out of the car, I could not stand up. Has anyone ever had this experience, getting out of a car or some stiff show of hands? Now, okay, that's everyone on the front page. Nope, not a couple of you. Okay, almost everyone on the front page. So if you can just type into this chat box, yes or no, this has ever been an experience that you've had where you've gotten to a point where something was stuck. Your back was stuck, your hip was stuck, your neck was stuck. I've had all those, by the way, back, hip, and neck. Knee didn't work. Yes, 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 yes. Someone, that's how they got into physical therapy. Indeed. One person said, no, she's never had that happen. Yay. Good job. So this was my motivating event. And when I drove back home on the next 12-hour link of this vacation, my husband kind of very caringly and delicately, but finally told got me to really tell the truth, which was like, how can you ever be a doctor and you're talking to people all day about exercise and you're not going to the gym? Like, that's not even honest. And so not only was it not honest, but it was also impairing my health. I couldn't stand up straight. I couldn't walk on the beach with my kids. So that was the motivator about 2 years ago that finally got me to the gym. And I had to start with these tiny baby steps because I went and I'm still identified with the feeling of being athletic. And I still believed that I knew my way through the gym, but I had really lost complete sense of myself in the gym. I didn't know where to start with. The weight side of the gym was absolutely completely foreign to me. And I just didn't want to go and read the directions on the machines because that was just too embarrassing. And, I tried a bunch of classes and I thought, well, I can be this, the out of shape person in the back of the class and still try it, but I really actually could not keep up. And I And I discovered that I absolutely couldn't even do a piece of a squat. And squatting is a part of almost all of the exercise classes I've ever been to. So, even trying to modify it and do like a wall sit instead, it was hopeless for me. So I started a little smaller. I hired a trainer. She gave me some really small exercises to start with, and I just had to start getting some muscles moving that I had lost track of. And over the course of about the last 18 months, that's just been slow, but continual progress. And I'm happy to say that, comparing to 12 months ago, there's a big difference, but it's not like every single week it's suddenly amazingly better. And I hired a different trainer, and then I realized I had some other fundamental things to fix after having had 4 children. So I'm working on those fundamentals. So it was really perfect timing of my own journey that matched my desire to solve this problem for my patients and also for myself. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Josh.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Beauvais. And Dr. Beauvais, your story is a story that we hear every day as physical therapists when we're in the office. And as Scott and I and Meredith and Fred, and we were all chatting, we really wanted to challenge ourselves to see if we could get in front of that, to see if we could prevent these situations from ever even happening in the first place, so that you don't know what it feels like to have that sense of stiffness, or if you do, you know how to get over it right away, and you know the resources to turn to. Because we've also learned that when pain and dysfunction is addressed quickly, it's a lot easier to get over, to overcome, than if we let it linger for months or even years at a time. And so we really wanted to lean into preventing movement degeneration and dysfunction from happening. Just a quick note before I dive further, I've seen some questions come through the chat box. Scott will also be monitoring the chat. So as we go forward, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to drop a question in there, and Scott will get back to you as quickly as possible. We'll try to make sure to leave plenty of time for questions at the end as well. But just a brief we'll go through a very brief background. We'll talk about the why of exercise, again, very briefly. We'll do some quick demonstration with Dr. Beauvais being our model, and we'll finish with just the outline of the class, or what we're planning for the class. As a bit of background, as a place to start, as Dr. Beauvais mentioned, we met, I think it was in June of 2018. We spent some time developing the course, and we launched the first course in spring of 2019. We ended up coming back, making it a little better, doing it again in the fall of 2019, and we're going for our third iteration in the spring of 2020. And between the fall 2019 and spring 2020 class, we actually put together a whole book to help guide the class, so that everyone had access to every exercise and all the detail within that exercise, and could take it home, read it with them, and make improvements at home. And we were so excited to share this book that we even wrapped it up in individual presents for everyone and handed it to them as they walked in for that first class. Unfortunately, we only made it one class in before the pandemic hit, and we had to cancel the in-person class. And it was back in March when we were really asking ourselves, what should we do? As Dr. Beauvais mentioned, we're not the type of group just to do something because we can. We really want to put our whole heart into it and deliver a great product. And so we spent the past 2 months reworking AgeProof so that it could be delivered online, so that we could open it up to even more people, hopefully, than the NVFP community, and so that we were confident we could deliver a great experience and a great product. So the neat thing is that whether you just want to watch and learn and be an observer, or if you actually want to participate, you'll be able to do this with the online class. We're going to both deliver the class live and online every Monday at noon, and we're also going to record the class so that people will have access to it if they can't attend at that time. But before we dive too much into the details, we'll talk a little bit about why exercise is important. Dr. Beauvais and I were chatting yesterday, and she gave me one of her favorite statistics. And Dr. Beauvais, feel free to correct me if I'm misinterpreting, but the statistic was that 3% of muscle mass is lost every day of bed rest. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's a very big problem in the hospital.
very big problem. And we've seen this firsthand. And in our current environment, the unfortunate reality is that we're seeing this manifest in different ways during the pandemic. So we're not moving as much as we used to, everything from we're not going to the grocery store as frequently to we're not going over to friends' houses or restaurants. So we're really not moving as much. And that has caused an increase in the amount of atrophy that we're seeing in a lot of our clients. There's a quick story of a patient of ours in Portland. And this patient was about, I believe he's 82 years old, either 81 or 82. He was in phenomenal shape. A partner of ours was seeing him in a gym, actually, and they would exercise once every other week. And he was squatting and deadlifting over 100 pounds when they would work together. But over the course of a month, he was a little resistant to trying sessions over video chat, over telehealth. And so he didn't have a session and didn't do much for 4 weeks. And then finally came around to trying a session via virtual health, via telehealth online. And our provider found that just in that past month, when he was not doing much, he was now having difficulty lifting 10-pound dumbbells. So he went from being able to squat and deadlift 100 pounds to having difficulty lifting 10-pound dumbbells. And that's an example of what's happening to a lot of us without us being able to realize it at this time. The good news is that this can completely be prevented and this can completely be reversed with exercise. So, the second fact I wanted to cover was that balance is also a really important measure and an easy measure of things like a healthy brain. So a stat that I love as well is that those who are able to balance on one leg for more than 20 seconds are significantly more likely, when examined under MRI, to have no brain changes. If they could not balance for 20 seconds on one leg, it was a sign that there might be asymptomatic or no symptoms at all, but changes in their brain that was more likely to lead to cognitive decline later on in life. So simple movements tell us a lot about your overall health, balance included. And we'll take a look at Dr. Beauvais' balance here in just a minute as well. We'll get a little insight into hers.
And anyone else who chooses to try.
And anyone who chooses to try, in a safe environment, particularly for balance.
Yeah.
And the last stat, another way just to demonstrate what a good peek into our future movement is a stat from a study that came looking how well individuals could go from sitting in an average height chair to standing and back to sitting again. So sitting, standing, sitting, standing. And at times, how many repetitions that participants could do in 60 seconds. And what it found is that for someone who was 53 years old, if they could sit to stand 35 times for a female or 37 times for a male in 60 seconds, they were extremely likely to be healthy 13 years later. And they found a big difference between those who could do that number and those who couldn't. So movement, one of the reasons we're so passionate about movement is because it really is a peek into overall health. A lot of times we think that health has to be examined by, just blood tests and blood measures that we have to send off into a lab. But we're able to learn so much just by watching someone walk down the street and watch what their movement capacity is. So this class is really designed to improve you on all of those fronts. We'll cover topics like upper body strengthening and lower body strengthening, core strengthening, posture, balance, et cetera, et cetera. Each class has a different topic. That being said, Dr. Beauvais, I would love to just have you demonstrate here a couple exercises for us, or a couple tests actually that we'll do. And anyone on video chat is more than welcome to join Dr. Beauvais as she demonstrates a few of these for me. And then we'll dive into more about what the class looks like.
Sure. What are we going to start with?
So we'll start with balance. So I'll have you very simply balance on one leg standing there. And Dr. Beauvais is wearing her Get Fit shirt. I love it. It's perfect for today.
This is my Northern Virginia family practice. We wanted to run the GW Classic with you guys, or I would have been walking, but Jessica runs. But of course, we'll postpone until next year. Okay. Hopefully next year.
All right.
I don't know if I can give you a full body view, Josh, but.
That's okay. As long as we can see your upper body, it should be okay.
Okay.
So one real simple test to do, a test that surprises a lot of individuals the first time we look at it, is single leg balance. What I'll have Dr. Beauvais do is cross her arms across her chest.
And everyone can try this if they feel like it at home.
Absolutely. And what we'll have you do is just move from standing on both legs to slightly lifting one leg up off the floor and balancing on your opposite leg. Now, the reason this is so important is because this is something you do every single time you take a step when you're walking. You have to balance on one leg to advance the other side. And this gives us a great picture also into one's likelihood of falling. If you can't balance for at least 5 seconds, you're at a very, very high risk of falling at some point within the next 3 months. If you can't balance for at least 20 seconds, then you're also at a high risk for falling for a longer period in the future. What's defined as when the test stops is when either your foot shifts on the ground, so you're not allowed to be overly wobbly. It's when your foot shifts on the ground, or when you have to let the opposite leg come down to maintain your balance. So it's a very, very easy way to test. Now, a lot of times, Dr. Beauvais, you're doing great. You can go ahead and switch sides if you'd like. We'll test the other side too.
I've been practicing while brushing my teeth.
And absolutely. So one of my favorite stories about exercise is I had a 90-year-old patient who I tested his balance, and he could only balance for 2 seconds on his right side and 3 seconds on his left side. And he was astonished that he couldn't balance. He was actually still playing tennis. And so what I had him do was practice 2 times a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, when he was brushing his teeth. It's a safe place to practice because you have a counter in front of you and you're able to hold on to it if you need to. And over the course of 3 months, he improved his single leg balance from 2 seconds on one side and 3 seconds on the other side to over 60 seconds on each side. And all of us have that potential within us. If we practice balance enough, our brain is going to make the necessary adaptations to be able to balance for longer, thus making us less likely to fall, thus making us move better and making our longevity better as well. So single leg balance is a great test. During the course of the class, we'll give you multiple exercises that'll work on your balance as well. There's simple measurements like calf strength and ankle mobility that also really influence our ability to balance, and we'll make sure to cover exercises for those as well. Dr. Beauvais, you're very talented there. It's looking good. Another challenge when you become an expert, I don't recommend you try this at home yet, but we'll have people shut their eyes and see if they can balance with the absence of their vision. That's one that if you're walking around at nighttime and you cannot see, balance with eyes shut is important, but that's only for the very, very advanced as you get more comfortable.
That's way harder.
Significantly harder. And the other interesting thing, I wish I would have pulled this graph for you actually, is that balance tends to over time decrease with age. And so because of that, the question that we want to pose is what happens if we practice it when that normal degenerative process starts to happen? So if we were able to practice it from age 40, 50 on and integrate it into our daily routine, our hypothesis is that balance will not degenerate in the normal course and will be much safer. Great. That looks good. Okay. It's tough with your eyes closed. So that is single leg balance. The second test we want to run through real quick is the 60-second sit to stand. And so what we'll have you do, Dr. Beauvais, and anyone who would like to try, is have you use a chair of normal height. And if it's a rolling stool, make sure it's pushed against the wall there. I don't want any stools to slide. All right. And now we're going to see how many times you'll start in sitting. And Meredith's got a great chair there. We'll start in sitting. Arms will be crossed again. All right. And what we're going to do is have you stand all the way up and then sit all the way back down fully in the chair. And we're going to do that as many times as you can over the course of 60 seconds. And I'll be our timer. All right. Dr. Beauvais, you can start sitting. We'll all start together here. If you can count, I'm gonna talk a little bit as we do this exercise test.
I now have a new scrub watch, which is fully waterproof, and I can wash, and I will time myself. Nice. Ready, set, go.
All right. Great. I see some people trying. This is fantastic. Absolutely. Ray and Linda. Now make sure to sit down all the way after each repetition. You want to put your weight fully in the chair. So this is one of the most functional exercises as Dr. Beauvais described. Essentially, every time that you sit on the couch, every time that you use the restroom, every time that you sit down in any chair, you're doing a squat. And so we like to practice our squats. One of Fred's favorite sayings, I know there's a big Fred fan club in here as well. Fred's favorite sayings is keep your standards high and your squats low. Squatting is so squatting is so important because it also influences how we're able to pick things up off the ground. There's a great testimonial that we had from one of our recent AgeProof classes. It was an anonymous survey, and this participant said, this year I was able to squat and tighten the screws on my Christmas tree stand. I would have never tried to squat down in the past, but now I do. And stop. How many did you get, Dr. B?
I think I lost count. It was maybe 34.
34.
I saw I had 17 at a halfway through, and I thought I better push it.
to get over that 35 marker, right? That's the big one. Yeah, and for everyone who tried, you could probably feel your thighs burning as you do it. It's a challenging exercise.
How about just get your heart rate up? I mean, it seems like it's valuable just for that.
Yep, absolutely. It gets your heart rate up. It strengthens your lower extremities, your legs, and it's the most functional movement that you can do from a day-to-day basis. So it's a fantastic exercise. And we teach about the form you should do it with as well. We're very, very big on quality of movement during the AgeProof class. We actually present 3 levels of each exercise so that you can find the level that's most comfortable and appropriate for you. And so you can modify based on your progression. And we also present the criteria that you should meet in order to progress to the next level of the exercise.
Josh, I will share one thing that really resonated with me in your book. And these are pages of the book that are actually on your AgeProof website. And those were the 3 stages of squatting. And the first one was where I was starting at, which let's see if I can give you a little view of my squat here. That's my messy desk. No personal patient information there. Okay, let's see. I don't know if you can see, but basically a squat, I could only just start just about this much.
That's right.
And that is the beginning stage in your book. So I wasn't completely excluded from the beginning of your book, but that's about all I could do. And I'm proud, very proud to say now I try to pick things off the floor twice because I can get down a little bit lower. And I just feel so happy about it that I want to do it twice to celebrate.
That's great. I love it. And that just shows all of us are at different levels with our movement capacity. I might be at a level 1 for a shoulder exercise and a level 3 for a leg exercise, or a level 2 for a core exercise and a level 1 for a hip exercise. And that's why everyone's a bit unique. And that's why we include multiple levels in there. There's another great anecdote I shared with Dr. Beauvais yesterday as well. I have another patient who's in her late 70s, and she was standing around at a reception with a group of women, and someone dropped something on the floor. And she simply squatted down to pick it up and hand it back to that person. And all of the women she was with, she said, gasped and said, "We can't believe you just squatted down like that easily and that simply." And she said, "I didn't even think about it, but it's because she practices squats all the time when we're together, and she has strong legs and good mobility." So it just goes to show that when you practice these types of motions, function in day-to-day life is going to get easier. All right. Before we talk about the class, one more quick test, one of our favorite tests that we actually just did a big challenge with a lot of millennials too on Instagram. This challenge is called the Floor to Stand Challenge. You may have seen this article written up in the Washington Post, I guess 3 or 4 years ago. And the title of the article was a little hyperbolic, but it was, "Can this test tell you how long you're going to live?" And what it did is it associated success rates on this test and directly correlated them with longevity. And it found that the more successful individuals were, the longer that they lived. So the test is actually very simple in and of itself. Meredith's got a great view there, and we'll get a good view with Dr. Beauvais as well. It's a challenging movement. So the test is, how well can you go from standing to sitting on the floor, back to standing again. But there's one catch, and that catch is every time you put a hand down or a knee down, or for that matter, a hand on a knee, you get -1 point. And for every time you lose your balance, you get -0.5 point. All right, Dr. Beauvais and Merideth, do you want to give it a shot here?
I don't want to go head to head with Merideth.
Merideth is pretty good. So Dr. Beauvais is doing well. So she lost a little bit of balance there at the bottom. You can see she didn't control it fully all the way down. And then now you have to reverse it and get back up.
I just don't think I could do it without a knee.
Without
I have to have one knee down.
One knee. One knee. So that's pretty good. So you can score 5 points on the way down and 5 on the way up. We did -0.5 on the way down. So 4.5 out of 5 on the way down for Dr. Beauvais, and 4 out of 5 because she put a knee down on the way up. So that's a total of 8.5. Merideth.
I'll hope to see if that's any different than it was 2 months ago when you tested me before.
Yeah, we have to work on your hip strength a little bit more. I can give you we can get some exercises for that to get that knee out of the way when you stand up.
Okay.
Merideth, do you want to show a 10 out of 10 real quick? You did a perfect job last time, if you can see Merideth. So what Merideth does so well is she's able to really slowly lower herself to the floor. And there's different strategies to do this with. A lot of people cross their legs. Yeah, it looks good, Merideth. A lot of people cross their legs and then slowly go all the way down to the floor. And then she's able to push right back up, which is very impressive. Nice work, Merideth. And it requires a lot of lower extremity flexibility, lower extremity power and strength, and good balance and core stability as well as you're going up and down. So it's another great simple movement that tells us a lot about how well you're moving and how healthy you are. Thanks, Merideth and Dr. Beauvais. They look good.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have been working on lots of different aspects of what needed to get stronger. And it was only after about 14 months of doing that work that I realized just how bad my core strength was. Actually, one of the things that kind of tipped me off to this was that Josh was doing a push-up test in our office, and my push-ups all sag in the middle. And he said, he just noticed that. He said, "Oh, I see your hips kind of lag the rest of your body." And it really took that 14 months of trying to work hard to then realize, oh, after having 4 kids, I never regained any of those muscles. So that's next year's project, this year's project.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Dr. Beauvais. And that's common too. Movement takes a while to change. Movement is not something where you do one exercise and all of a sudden you're a lot stronger. The process itself of hypertrophy, which is muscle strengthening, muscle getting bigger, actually physiologically takes about 3 months to happen of consistent work. And you'll make neural connections a lot quicker, so brain connections, and you'll see improvements in things like balance a lot quicker, and you'll see some gains in range of motion and strength. But for true muscle strengthening to happen, it does take about 3 months. Okay, so let's move on to AgeProof Your Body, the class. As we mentioned, we're in the process, and now we're moving it online. And so you can find out more, and everything that I say and more will be on the website, ageproofyourbody.com. We're going to have one class each Monday at noon. But again, the classes will be both live and recorded. So when we record them, we'll send out a video of the recordings to everyone who were not able to attend. The class will be held on Zoom, so it'll be exactly the same platform that we're using now with the same easy link to just click and log in. And during each class, we're going to have the same format. We'll teach 3 exercises, including 3 specific levels of each exercise. And we'll also have instructors that are available to support you on the chat line, just like Scott and Merideth are doing right now. So we're hoping to keep the class just as dynamic as it was in person, only with a little different of a format online. We still want to offer a couple things. We want to offer as much personalized feedback as we possibly can, acknowledging that we're online. And we also want you to feel the same sense of community that you do when you're coming in person together. So we've done a couple things for the community piece. is that we're baking in some town halls specifically for age-proof participants, very similar to this. And we're also offering a private Facebook group for age-proof participants where they can come to encourage each other, support each other, post pictures, post questions, et cetera, to hopefully increase the instructor availability. If you have any questions at all, you can just post them on there for the whole group to be able to see, and also to share their success. You know, what are you noticing that's improving? When we see others' gains, it's really inspirational to a lot of the other members. So we hope it can be a really positive touch point that was happening in person that we can now take online. Again, I think I saw a question, are there any other times for the class? As of now, there are not any other times for the live class, but if you wouldn't mind dropping in a what time would be preferable for you, we always make a mental note and a physical note of what times people prefer so that we can accommodate as many people as possible. So if you wouldn't mind just putting that in the chat bar, if there's a better time, we'll do our best to accommodate you in the future. But again, you can have access to the recordings. Now, everyone who signs up will also get a copy of the book. It's going to be a digital copy, obviously, because we're online. And so for everyone who does not have the physical book to support them right now, we'll make sure you can download and have easy access to the digital book. And you can even print it out if you want. But it is a lot of pages. It's over 100 pages of great content. And so we'll make sure to have enough ink and enough paper. As you prepare for the class, you really don't need much space at all. All you need is a chair and an exercise mat to be able to get down on the floor if you would like to. If you don't have an exercise mat, something like a towel can even work just as fine. And it looks like a lot of folks have great camera setups right now. If you have any question about your camera setup so that the instructors can see you as clearly as possible, we're happy to hop on a Zoom and do a one-on-one session to help orient you to where may be the best space in your house to do it. If we have the camera looking slightly down and we can see the whole chair in the picture and the mat a little bit in front of the chair, then you should be set up for success for the entire duration of the course. There are a couple exercises where you might move just a little bit out of the picture, but we'll be able to see you enough to provide comprehensive feedback when that feedback is requested. Classes, when will the Monday noon classes begin? So we're actually going to get started this coming Monday with an introductory seminar. We know that Monday is Memorial Day, and so we're just going to use it as a chance for everyone to meet all of the instructors, to run some pre-tests to give us a baseline of how you're performing right now, to try out the technology, and to do a little sample of the exercises. The class will formally get started 1 week from Monday with our official launch of Class 1. Yeah.
Oh, that's good, because that'll give us an extra week to help people sign up if they are interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of the sign up, there are actually 3 levels that you can now participate at. So level 1, what everyone will get is a great level for people who just want to try the class and see the book and get a feel for how they're doing. So with a level 1, you'll have access to live and recorded classes. You'll be able to join the private Facebook community. You'll get a copy of the AgeProof book. And perhaps the best part, thanks to Dr. Beauvais' amazing leadership, is that everyone at NVFP will have access to level 1 completely for free. And so when you sign up, all you need to do on the checkout, I think it's step 4 on the checkout, is you enter the discount code NVFP. And that'll automatically deduct the cost of a level 1 participation. Again, you'll have access to the book, the live and recorded classes, the Facebook community, and more, and our support, any questions that you have. Now, for those who want to do a little bit more, who maybe need a little bit of an extra incentive or guidance, Dr. Beauvais, you shared with me that there's one person who said, I feel like I would be more motivated to, what was it, if you don't mind me sharing?
I was trying to explain to another person who had fallen away from her exercise plan that I had a great solution for her, and that it would be available for free starting soon. And she said, well, I don't really want it for free. I'd really much rather, I'm much more motivated to do something that I paid for. So if that's you that I'm talking to, there is a level 2 and a level 3 if you want to spend some money.
Yeah. So if you feel like you need some extra added incentive and to make yourself want to do it more, our level 2 membership essentially, you get access to everything on level 1, and we'll give you an accountability tracker so that you can track the exercises that you're doing every day, and we'll be able to support and monitor you a bit better via email. And so we do some remote accountability and support. So the way that works is we provide a simple document for you to list the exercise you're doing, list the number of repetitions and sets, and then write down any specific questions that you have. And what we'll do is make sure that your questions get answered. We'll encourage you to progress the areas where we think you can do a little bit more. And we'll make sure you're exercising at the right level for you based on how your body is responding. And that'll primarily take place via email. So Merideth will be taking the lead, and a couple of us will also be chipping in to be able to provide more guidance to you. Again, that guidance will come predominantly remotely via email.
Josh, if I could just interrupt for 1 sec before you get to the next level. I think
Absolutely.
one thing that people in the live class appreciated the most was that they could just kind of curbside consult these guys. So they would come in and their shoulder would hurt, and they'd come a few minutes early and talk to one of the physical therapists and kind of have like a quick intervention with you know, what they could begin working on at home. And then a little bit of live feedback during the class. So, you know, if that's you, this might be a way to kind of curbside the physical therapists and then get a little bit of ongoing feedback on your specific problem. So, for example, when my hip was stuck, that was very useful. So I could suggest that for you for whatever is stuck.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we hope it provides a bit more comfort as well. You know, we acknowledge it's a challenging time, and not being able to see you in person, you know, there's different pathways for what type of support we can offer. And on that note, the last level, the level 3 package, if you really want a lot of extra coaching and to make sure that you're doing the exercises as well as you can with great quality form, again, we'll do our best to help correct everything in the class itself. But if you would like some one-on-one coaching, then we created an option for you. And so level 3 is everything that level 1 and level 2 has. And we'll do once weekly remote coaching where it'll just be a one-on-one video chat, just like this, but only with 2 parties at the same time, Merideth and or a physical therapist and you, and we'll guide you through each of the exercises, answer any questions that you have, make progress where we can, and continue to challenge ourselves to move at our best moving forward. The last thing I wanted to mention that I think Scott may have already actually hit on in the chat bar, he beat me at it, he beat me to it, is that as a community, both MovementX and NVFP, we've really been asking over the past couple months, you know, how can we do more? How can we really fight the pandemic? How can we do more to be at the forefront of healing based on the skill sets that we have? And NVFP, you know, you just have such a strong community. You've done so much. With AgeProof, we wanted to ask the question of how can we best help the adult community 60 plus? We know we have a great product, but can we do more? And so what we decided to do is to donate 100% of the proceeds from all of the level 1, level 2, level 3 memberships to 2 charities who are on the front lines fighting the pandemic. So our hope is not only to make this a positive for you as an individual, but to also make it a positive for the community and the larger society, for those organizations who we are donating to and all the people that they serve.
Right, we're going to help everyone get some of these.
Mm-hmm.
I love not wearing this actually today for the class. It's really pleasant.
Yeah, I have so much empathy, and it's tough to wear masks all day long, you know, but to make sure that medical workers have access to appropriate personal protective equipment, we're going to be donating to local hospitals based on where the participants are logging in from. We're going to do that through the Protect the Heroes Fund. And we're also going to be donating some of the proceeds to an organization called World Central Kitchen that is producing hundreds and thousands of meals for individuals who otherwise wouldn't have access to food at this challenging time. So again, we think it's a win for the individual, it's a win for everyone coming together as a community, and it's a win for those who really need it most at this time. And to Scott's point, the more people who sign up, the more people who start moving better, and the more good that will be done as well for the bigger community. So I apologize. I think we went even a little bit longer than we were hoping to do, but at this time, Scott, are there any questions on there that we might not have been able to answer thus far, or anything that you think you might want to add? And Dr. Beauvais, thanks for unmuting Scott.
Oh, I'll do that. Yeah. While I'm unmuting Scott, there was one question for me about the physicals, and that are they the same or different as from what they used to be? This week, they're really different because we're learning how to do them in the COVID era. We have decided not to do pulmonary function tests because we are not able to do pulmonary function tests safely. We do not have a negative pressure room. And so when we do blow into a tube, that's causing aerosolized droplets. And so we have canceled pulmonary function tests for the near future. Probably, I mean, it could cancel those pulmonary function tests forever because we're really not able to do them safely. So we'll have to reevaluate that kind of year by year. And while we're getting our sea legs back here in the new office, and just learning how to navigate patients through the office, we have really limited the physical to all of the verbal part and all of the medical update part, which we're doing hopefully in part in person and in part on the phone. And we've really kept it to the actual physical exam and the EKG while you're in the office. And the rest of it we're going to do with you remotely. So that means right now, this week, unless I haven't seen anyone who's at super risk, but we haven't done the ankle brachial index, which is a blood pressure test in your ankles. We haven't done the hearing test. We can do the hearing test. That one we can handle without aerosolization. But this week we have not done that because we're just rethinking how we do everything. Other questions, Scott?
No, I think that's it. That was the only one that was unaddressed. So thank you for covering that.
If you could just review the questions that were here, that most people aren't reading that chat box. So if you can kind of go over the ones that have been answered.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the most pressing question to just remind everyone right now is that the Zoom invitation for these AgeProof Your Body classes is a private invitation. So the way that you get that, we will be emailing all of the people who sign up on the AgeProof site that private invitation to the Zoom link. So if you want that Zoom link, make sure that you sign up online. Go to that website. It's ageproofyourbody.com. You can hit the sign up button. And the level 1 package is the baseline level of packages for those classes. You can enter the code NVFP upon checkout, and that will give you free access to that class, and then you can download the that Zoom link via email that we'll be sending out. And as a reminder, that first class does start June 1st on Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, and I think there's another invitation for this going out tomorrow from us, and we'll re-invite you on a weekly basis, because if you miss class 1, you can still join for the rest.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's it. And I actually just included our emails in the chat box as well, in case anybody else has any other questions that they'd like to ask privately. I know somebody had a great question for Merideth regarding how they can adjust their exercise plan. So we're more than happy to help with that.
Yeah, and I think that hits at Scott, that we hope a couple things. A, we hope that you feel extremely supported to start exercising, whether you've never exercised a day in your life. I wrote a personal story about my own grandmother who didn't start exercising until she was 92 years old, or you've been exercising for, multiple times a week or a day for years. We hope that you feel as supported and as comfortable as possible to start exercising. And we also hope that with this transition, that it's, I guess our biggest goal is that it's so good that you say, when we can go back to doing it in person, I actually don't really want to, because I like the online version so much better. And I think there's a lot of advantages to it that we can integrate. So any way in which we can make you more comfortable, there's so much that can be done with simple exercises like those we'll share to improve your muscle mass, improve your balance and your leg strength, improve your floor to stand score, to make it easy to get up and down from the ground. And we really hope to make it a safe and fun and effective environment for you to get moving at your home during this time that we're all staying pretty socially isolated.
Couple questions online. There are 8 classes, so it's like a preview this Monday, which is Memorial Day. Then the first class is the Monday after that. All of the links will be in your email to continually use these again and again. So at the end of the 8 classes, you'll have more than 1 week's worth of everyday exercise classes for yourself, and you can just repeat those on a rotating basis. Someone asked, is there still blood work? Yes, there is still blood work. We really still want you to come in ahead of time and do the blood work, but if for any reason you would prefer to come and do it that same day, it is possible to do it the same day of your physical. It's just better if we can review it ahead of time, and then we've actually already discussed it before you even come in, and that helps us direct our physical a little bit. So yes, there is blood work. People have continually been asking for local hospital updates for the COVID-19, and actually, this was mentioned on NPR this morning that in Chicago and Los Angeles and the Washington, D.C. metro area, we have been seeing plateaus, not a decrease in the curve. And that is still, unfortunately, the case, which means it's very, very important that we still remain masked, that we still really stay inside, not inside only, but stay to our own family members in our own households. And so I think there were 356 people in the hospital the last time I checked, which was about the same as it was for the last 2 weeks. So the numbers have not drifted down yet. So I think if you look at all the curves in New York, about 3 weeks ago, things started to look a little better, and then they got better, and now they're definitely improved. And we have not yet followed that. So please encourage, again, please be our educators, educate people in the rest of the country, educate your family members. Please, implore your kids not to go hanging out with other people and not to hang out at restaurants. And, for those social engagements that you are doing outside, it's still best to have a mask on. If you're going to be walking like side by side with someone for a long time, you're just going to pass them on the sidewalk for a minute, for, really a second. It really is a very low risk of transmission in that particular setting. When I go for a walk, I just put this on my wrist. And then if I'm going to pass anybody, I just hold it up over my head, so I'm being nice to them. And so I just don't want you to leave home without it. And hand washing is the answer for everything in this particular epidemic so far. So that's the short-term update. We will be taking a break from the Zoom meeting this coming week, the Memorial Day week. We'll probably be going to a twice a month schedule instead of an every week schedule. We do have an infectious disease doctor confirmed for June 4th. I think that is the Thursday, June 4th. And Dr. Zweig will be interviewing the infectious disease doctor, whose name I learned, but I don't remember, so I wish I could tell you. Well, that will go out in an email soon, and we will continue on a twice a month rhythm. So we hope to see you all working out, and if this isn't your exercise, then please create one for yourselves. Thanks so much for all 70 or so of you who joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you in your t-shirt.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Beauvais.
Thank you, Josh. Thank
Bye,
you, Scott.
everyone.
Thanks, Meredith.
Take care. Bye-bye.